What's up, Knight fans? Welcome once again to Holding Court with Todd Dagenais, along with the coach. My name is Jeff Sharon, and UCF heading into their final home weekend. Hard to believe, Coach, already that we're heading down to the final home weekend. The Knights get a split on the road at Memphis this past week, and Coach, we talked about it going in. You know, the chess match is always weird when you're going back-to-back with the Thursday and Friday against Memphis. But let's talk about that first match. You guys get the win in 4, and that was a key victory heading into that weekend. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to play somebody back-to-back on the road like that, and you know, getting that first victory under your belt is a pretty serious thing. And you know, we didn't play great. We played how sometimes you play on the road, and that was one of those matches. I think we're fortunate to win. I thought that Memphis played pretty well. The thing about Memphis, and nobody gets this, is Memphis is far better than what their record is. Yeah. You know, they have lost a lot of the matches like we've lost this year, just by a few points and close sets and things like that. Except they just lost more of them, and they're way better than what their record indicates. And that's a scary road trip for us. So to go in there and take that first one in a closely contested match was really important for us, for sure. Now they come back in the second match on Friday night, and they get us, and they return the favor to us in 4. And you were saying afterwards that they just, I mean, credit goes to the Memphis Tigers in that second match because they played out of their minds in that match.
Yeah, I thought they were really good. I thought they made some nice adjustments, and the thing that they did, Jeff, I thought that was significant was their defensive intensity ratcheted up 5 notches. Yeah. And really, I don't think that we didn't play any better or any worse. I think we made a lot of mental mistakes that really took us out of the match. But I think one thing that did take us out of the match was their defensive intensity was outstanding. And, while we're on that topic, actually, their assistant Marco had to step in and be the head coach because head coach April had a baby on Friday. And
congratulations!
So, yeah, congratulations, April, and welcome to the world. Aiden is his name, and he was born on Friday afternoon. So I'm guessing that the Memphis team was pretty jacked up for that as well. And so a pretty emotional day, I'm sure. With the Memphis volleyball program, and they were able to really capitalize it and just really play an emotional, intense match. And when it came down to it, they were 2 points better than we were.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about it is that it didn't really hurt us too much in the standings because we had some folks lose up at the top that we were chasing in Conference USA. Right now, obviously, Tulsa all loaded first place. There's a 3-way tie for second place in Conference USA, and we are still 2 matches back in the loss column of that group of 3. So right now, are you happy with where we are in the standings as we head to the last 5 matches of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a shot, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to head into the last quarter of our conference season with a chance, and actually I think it's a better chance than maybe even what we thought. Looking back a few weeks ago, we're 2 games out of second place now. Yeah. And we've got a chance here in these last 5 that are coming up to make a pretty significant run. The other thing, Jeff, I think is important is that we moved up in RPI, even with the split on the weekend on the road. We moved up a little bit in the RPI, I think 6 spots. And so we moved from, we're now in the mid-70s. So, I mean, if we can somehow take care of business here in these last couple weeks, these last 5 matches, we can possibly make up those 25 to 30 spots that we need to get back on the board. So there's a lot to play for. I really think that the attitude has been great. This is a team that is not looking forward to the end of the season. They're really looking forward to the next match and what else that we can accomplish. And that's a nice development for our program to be in that frame of mind where we're thinking postseason. We're actively thinking postseason. Now, whether or not we get there depends on a lot of things that are going to still take place. But the fact is we have a chance. And as long as we have a chance, you want the team to embrace that opportunity, and that's something I think we're doing.
I think that's that's all you really could ask for. That's always the case. Just have that opportunity to get to hit that, to catch that golden fleece and get to the postseason. And the schedule shapes up for us as well as we have our last 2 home matches of the season on this very floor where we are here in the venue. The first one is Friday night against Marshall, and then Sunday afternoon against East Carolina as we on Senior Day on Sunday. So this is always an emotional weekend. When you have obviously you only have one senior in Rachel Luxon who's played such an outstanding year. But as you look forward to those matches, how do you as a coaching staff try to keep some of those emotions in check?
Well, one of the things that we do is we address Senior Day or Senior Night after the match. That's one of the things you have to do. I've been a part of high school programs and college programs that have done it beforehand, and there's a reason to do that. But the tough thing is you know, that is something that can be very emotional. And I think right now, with all the things that are on the line, it's probably a good idea for us to deal with that kind of stuff after the match is over. So, yeah, you know, Marshall comes in, and you know, we went up there, and that was a really disappointing match for us. We were practicing on the Thursday night, the last 10 minutes of practice. Kayla Keller comes down wrong, and here we are with 5 minutes left to practice a new lineup.
Yeah.
And it seemed like for 4 weeks after that point, we were still trying to research for a brand new identity. And you know, that was just one of those matches. It's a tough road trip, obviously, and we didn't play well. Matches were close, and so I mean, I expect coming in, it's going to be every bit the battle that it was up at Marshall, and here's why. I think we talked about UTEP being the most improved team since last year. Absolutely. Undoubtedly, Marshall is the most improved team from the start of the season to where they are right now. Yeah. They really struggled early in the season. Freshmen playing, freshman setter. And I tell you, they got it going, and they've had some nice wins. Big split with Houston over this past weekend. So they're getting it together at just the right time, and you know, they're fighting to salvage their season. And so I think you've got two teams that are still playing for a lot. They're playing for a lot of pride. And you know, Mitch Jacobs' team always plays with pride, and we're fighting for, you know, a shot at an NCAA tournament berth. So there's a lot on the line coming into this match on Friday night, and it's going to be a big deal. A
lot on the line here, you know, as we do head into, you know, even after the homestand is finished and those last 3 road matches, there's still a lot on the line, and I think that, you know, this is such a key weekend because you set yourself up for those last 3 home matches against some of the class of Conference USA, and like you were talking about before, you get wins in those 3 matches. All of a sudden, the RPI comes up, your place in the standing moves up, and you make a very, very convincing case for the NCAA tournament.
Sure. I mean, the schedule again is just, it's not what you would call favorable. You know, to have to play Marshall, play ECU on Sunday, and then we have to hit that Tulsa SMU road trip, and then 2 days later finish it up with the UTEP. This year we decided to play our travel partner while we were already in Texas. Saves a little bit on the budget. It's going to be a little bit harder on us to play 3 matches in 5 days. UTEP has to do the same thing, though. So they just have the advantage of being at home. And you know, wouldn't it be interesting if that match ends up being for an NCAA berth? But we don't even get to talk about that unless we can get through, find a way to get through Marshall on Friday night, and then find a way to get through ECU on Sunday afternoon. That's
true. And as the season winds down, we step back and look at the national picture. Not much to talk about this past weekend, aside from one team actually falling out. I believe it was Illinois actually dropped down a little bit in the standings, but we still have the LA schools going up to Washington taking care of business, and UCLA still number 1.
Yep. No, it was actually Washington came down to the LA schools, and
okay,
but yeah, I mean, Penn State had a tough weekend on the volleyball court. Nebraska had a tough weekend. Yeah. They were able to overcome some adversity, and so, you know, I think it's starting to shape up. We know who the top 10 schools are pretty clearly. I think that's obvious now. But who's the number 1 seed? Probably UCLA, until otherwise proven. You know, they've been able to win some of the big matches, and so I think it's going to be a really an interesting tournament. Seedings are going to decide everything this year. I think, you know, how they match up in regional semifinals and regional finals is going to make all the difference as to who gets the Final Four this year. So I think the committee is going to have an interesting decision on how they're going to take all this, I'm going to call it parity, just because there's no dominant team this year. You know, there's parity amongst the top 10, I guess, and they're going to have a tough decision trying to figure out who's 1 through 16 this year.
Do you sense that there is a little bit of separation between the Pac-12 schools and the Big Ten schools at this stage in the season?
We don't know. I really don't know. I think Nebraska is a really good team. I think Penn State's a really good team. I think Minnesota's a good team. And I think Illinois is just young. And there's going to be nights where they're good and there's nights when they're not so good. And you're going to look to the end of the year and they're going to get better. And so I don't know what happens when you line them up 1-to-1. I think, you know, the regular volleyball person might say, sure, the Pac-10 is just more battle tested. I don't know if that's true this year. I think it's possible. I would probably lean more towards the Pac-10 being battle tested than the Big Ten, but that might not be true this year. The Big Ten is pretty good, I think, and I really think that those two conferences really are the two class conferences, but I think the Big 12 has some players in there that can beat both teams. And so boy, it's just really as much of a toss-up this year as ever. There is no Penn State dominating team. There is no Stanford. There is no USC. There is no Washington that has dominated. There's nothing like that this year. It's literally going to go set to set, match to match. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year because this year's champion may have 7, 8, 9 losses. You just never know.
Oh, it would be fun if we got the shot at one of those teams that are up there in the top 10 of the NCAA tournament. You never know, it may very well happen. Now, as far as this weekend is concerned, like we mentioned, Senior Day is on Sunday afternoon. Of course, not before the big match on Friday against Marshall. That's at 7 p.m. Sunday night here in the venue, UCF against Marshall. And then make sure you also come on out for Senior Day against East Carolina at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And the senior ceremony, of course, will take place after the match is over. Then it's on the road for those 3 huge matches, Coach, and it's going to be a very interesting finish to the season.
Yeah, you know, it's we hadn't really talked about ECU, and that's a team that so far is looking for their first win in conference, and it seems like every year those teams step up and try to knock somebody off in the last couple weeks of the season, and you got to make sure that it's not going to be you. You know, so right now, because Marshall's on Friday, that's the match we prepare for. We're not changing our formula. All year long we've prepared for the Friday match. Just so happens that it's Marshall this time. When we were on the road, we prepared for ECU and took our chances with Marshall, and it's going to be the flip this time. You know, we're preparing for Marshall and we'll take our chances with ECU, but it's a critical weekend for us if we want to achieve the goals that we started out saying that we were going to achieve.
Yeah, and so like we said, don't forget, you can catch the first step of UCF trying to reach those goals right here in the venue on Friday night and then on Sunday afternoon. Coach, thanks again. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. We'll see you.
And thank you for joining us. Make sure you follow UCF Volleyball on Twitter. UCF_volleyball is the handle. Also look us up on Facebook, and as always on UCFathletics.com, where you can catch every match live. So for Coach Todd Dagenais, I'm Jeff Sharon. Thank you so much for joining for Holding Court this week, and we will catch you again next week on the back half of UCF's final home volleyball weekend for 2011. We'll see you then.